Chapter 8. The dawnlight spills softly into the dining hall. The rows of nervous trainees fidget, chairs squeaking on the tiled floor. Sitting beside Clara, I stir my untouched breakfast, my mind a labyrinth of strategies and what-ifs. Today marks the beginning of the combat challenges, a pivotal point in our journey to join the police force aid. Despite 2 weeks of rigorous training, a flutter of anxiety dances in my stomach. I glance around the hall, observing my fellow trainees. Some are attempting to eat, their efforts half-hearted. Others are lost in thought, their expressions a mix of fear and resolve. The murmur of low conversations creates a tense hum in the air, a soundtrack to our collective apprehension. My gaze involuntarily drifts across the room, seeking a familiar figure. In the midst of the bustling crowd of anxious trainees, Jack sits in stark contrast. Isolated, he quietly eats his breakfast, his composure seeming almost surreal amidst the surrounding flurry of nerves. It's an anchor in the turbulent sea of my thoughts. He's an anchor in the stormy sea of my thoughts. I can't look away from him. I have an almost desperate need for his presence beside me. Clara's voice, low and steady, pulls me back. "We can do this, Eva. We have to win, or we're out. We will win the challenges," she says, her hand briefly squeezing mine. Her confidence is a small beacon of hope, but my eyes are drawn once more to Jack. There's something about his quiet presence that's both reassuring and unnerving. I force myself to take a bite of my breakfast, the food tasteless. Today, the training grounds will transform into an arena where every skill, every lesson, and every moment of preparation will be put to the test. The thought sends a shiver down my spine. Clara nudges me, bringing me back to our table. "You okay?" she asks, her eyes filled with concern. I manage a nod, though my stomach is doing somersaults. Our conversation shifts back to the admission tests. The combat trials are only the beginning. Next is the infiltration mission, the parkours, and the hacking challenge. Clara appears assured about the parkours and combat portions, yet there's a hint of concern in her eyes about the hacking. I find myself envying her confidence in the physical aspects of the tests. My gaze drifts again to the other trainees. Drake and Taryn, with their brute confidence, are laughing with a group that seems to hang on their every word. Their arrogance irks me, but I push the feeling aside. Today, I need to focus on my own challenges. In worst scenario, I will have to fight against one of them. Finally, it's time to head out to the courtyard. The air outside is crisp, and the sky is a clear blue. We line up in formation, and I can feel every muscle in my body tensed with anticipation. Commander Hask steps out to address us, and the courtyard falls silent. I feel a knot tightening in my stomach. Commander Hask steps forward, his presence commanding immediate attention. I try to focus on his words, but my mind keeps drifting to the list of challenges Clara and I had gone over at breakfast. 4 combat challenges, 1 each day, against randomly selected trainees. Then comes the simulated infiltration mission, the parkours test, and a hacking challenge. I realize how little I know about what these tests entail, and that uncertainty gnaws at me. Hask's voice, stern and resonant, cuts through the morning air. "Trainees," he begins, his voice booming across the courtyard. "Today you embark on a series of challenges that will test not just your physical prowess, but your mental fortitude, your adaptability, and your resolve to uphold the values of the Consortium's police force." His words are meant to inspire, but they also underscore the gravity of what's ahead. These challenges will simulate real-world scenarios that you might face in the field. They are designed to push you to your limits. I glance briefly at Clara, standing rigidly beside me, her face a mask of focus. Then, almost against my will, my gaze shifts to Jack. He's listening intently to Hask, his expression unreadable. There's a certain intensity in his stance, a readiness that seems to go beyond the standard preparation for these tests. Clara leans in, her whisper barely audible. It's as if we are gearing up for a real battle, not just a test. I nod silently, feeling a mix of apprehension and curiosity. As Hask continues, he lays out the structure of the challenges. Your performance in these tasks will determine your suitability for the police force aid. Remember, not all of you will make it through. His words hang heavily in the air, a stark reminder of the competition's high stakes. The speech concludes with a call to uphold the values of the police force, to demonstrate honor, courage, and integrity. As Hask's voice fades, a heavy silence settles over the courtyard. The trainees disperse, each lost in their thoughts, mentally preparing for the first challenge. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I have no idea who my opponent will be or what the day will bring, but I know one thing: I will not give up. As we move towards the training grounds, I steel myself for the upcoming trial. Today in this arena, I must prove my worth as a fighter. In the charged atmosphere of the combat zone, bristling with the tense anticipation of imminent clashes, I stand opposite Melanie. She's tall, with a muscular build. Her hair is pulled back tightly, practical for combat, revealing a face set with determination. Her renown as a fierce, uncompromising fighter precedes her. As the match commences, her intensity is unmistakable. Her movements are a whirlwind of aggression, each kick and punch delivered with a blend of raw power and meticulous precision. Her eyes are focused, unyielding, a clear reflection of her reputation for relentless combat. Her stance is aggressive yet calculated, embodying a fighter who knows her strength. Melanie's agility catches me off guard, and I find myself on the defensive. She lands several sharp kicks to my ribs. Pain explodes in my side, sharp and unyielding. Every breath becomes a battle, casting shadows of doubt over my endurance. I struggle to push the pain aside. I can feel the bruises forming, a physical reminder of the fierceness of this challenge. My breathing becomes ragged, difficult, with increasing pain in my ribs with each breath. Each inhalation is a struggle, as if the very air has turned against me, intensifying the pain with every expansion of my chest. But I grit my teeth, determined not to show any sign of weakness. I will not give up this fight. I dodge another of Melanie's strikes, her movement creating just the opening I need. Seizing the moment, I lunge forward, using my speed to my advantage. In a motion, I leap onto her back, securing my arm around her throat in a tight headlock. Melanie's body tenses under me. She struggles to break free, her attempts growing more desperate as her breaths come in short gasps. The world narrows down to just the two of us in this struggle for dominance. I can feel Melanie's panic rising as she claws at my arm, trying to pry herself free. The pain in my ribs is excruciating, casting doubt on my ability to hold on much longer. My head throbs under the effort and the abrupt movements of Melanie as she tries to break free. My ribs scream in pain. Doubt creeps in. Can I last? Darkness threatens. I must hang on. Must endure. I will not give up. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, I feel Melanie's hand tapping out in surrender. I release my hold and fall to the ground. I'm panting heavily, the adrenaline still coursing through my veins. I did it. I won. As I catch my breath, I glance over to see Clara's match. She moves with a grace that's almost ethereal, her combat style a sharp contrast to my own gritty encounter. She wins her match with an effortless elegance. The pain coursing through my body now dulls to a numb tingling, made bearable by the thrill of victory. I have just won this battle, not merely through physical skill, but through endurance and sheer willpower. Melanie was a formidable opponent, but in the final moment, I tapped into a strength I didn't know I had, a well of courage and resilience previously unknown to me. My eyes search for Jack, wondering what he thought of the match. He's leaning against the far wall, watching. His expression is hard to read, but there's a hint of approval in his nod. It's all the acknowledgement I need. Emerging from the combat ring, I still gasp for air. I spot Jack heading my way. He's already done with his match, appearing untouched and unnervingly calm. His eyes meet mine, piercing and evaluative, as he takes in my post-fight state. "You did well," Jack begins, his tone hinting at an unexpected approval. "But you've got to be faster on the offensive. Don't give them the chance to make the first move." Before I can respond, Jack's hand reaches out, lightly pressing against my ribs. I wince at the contact, his touch probing for any signs of serious injury. "You'll have a nasty bruise there, but nothing's broken," he observes. His concern feels out of place, almost intimate, in a way that unsettles me. "You should get those ribs bandaged up," he suggests. "I can help you," his tone matter of fact. The thought of Jack helping me bandage my ribs sends a wave of conflicting emotions through me. It's too personal, too close for comfort. "No, I'll manage," I reply quickly, the words almost a stammer. Jack raises an eyebrow, a hint of a smirk playing on his lips. "Suit yourself," he says, stepping back. "Just don't let it slow you down tomorrow." I nod. grateful for the distance he's put between us. My heart is still racing, not just from the fight, but from the brief proximity to Jack. His concern, though likely well-intentioned, has left me feeling exposed in a way I hadn't anticipated. Tomorrow, the next combat awaits, and I can't afford any distractions. The night before my second combat challenge is a restless one. Every breath is a sharp reminder of the bruises coloring my ribs. I manage to bandage them tightly enough to dull the worst of the pain, but sleep is elusive, chased away by a mix of discomfort and anticipation. Morning comes too soon, and with it, the next challenge. Before my own fight begins, I catch a glimpse of Jack concluding his combat challenge. I've missed the action, but by the looks of it, he's dispatched his opponent with his usual efficiency. There's an air of sheer boredom on his face, a stark contrast to the intensity I've come to associate with him in our training sessions. As I prepare, Jack approaches me, his usual unreadable expression in place. He leans in close, his voice a low murmur only I can hear. "Go for Nathaniel's left knee," he advises, nodding subtly towards Nathaniel. "Trust me on this." I sneak a peek at Nathaniel, trying to hide my curiosity. "Why his knee?" I ask, keeping my voice equally low. "I put him in the infirmary last week with a hit to that knee. Now it's his weak spot," his voice barely above a whisper. I pause, processing this information. "You did what?" I blurt out, totally caught off guard. Jack's gaze doesn't waver. "Training here is about finding and exploiting weaknesses. It's how we survive. It's how you'll win. Use that knowledge to your advantage," he advises, then strides away, leaving me with a new strategy and a fresh perspective on the ruthless nature of the fight. Nathaniel towers over me, though not quite reaching Jack's height. His piercing green eyes seem to scrutinize me intently. His bulkier build, accentuated by strong upper arms. He has considerable strength and power. As our fight commences, Nathaniel's speed catches me off guard. He moves with a surprising nimbleness, each strike precise and forceful. I narrowly evade his blows, each one a testament to his lengthy reach. Despite his advantage, I'm resolved to turn the tide of this battle. Then, a sudden, sharp punch from Nathaniel lands, sending a jolt of pain through my lip. I can taste blood, feel it dripping down my chin. I'm on my knees, the pain sharp and insistent. But I push it aside, locking it away from my focus, and quickly regain my stance. I touch my teeth with my tongue. They're all firm and in place. My eyes burn, a dull ache forcing me to blink several times before I can focus properly on Nathaniel again. Gradually, the image of my adversary sharpens, and despite the throbbing pain, my mind hones in, razor sharp, ready for the next round of our relentless battle. Surrender is not an option. Fueled by Jack's earlier advice, I watch my adversary carefully, waiting for my moment. Finally, it comes. I lash out with a swift kick to his left knee. His response is immediate, a grimace of pain, his balance wavering. In a split second, he's on the ground. I'm quick on my feet, using the techniques Jack and I had practiced relentlessly. I secure Nathaniel's arm, stretching it to its limit. My submission hold is tight, unyielding. Nathaniel fights back with all his strength. The pain in my ribs is almost unbearable, but I hold on. Blood, bright red, seeps from my wound, staining the back of my opponent, soaking into his t-shirt. I tighten my grip on his arm, now twisted unnaturally. If I continue, his shoulder will dislocate. He's hurting bad, you can see it in the way his jaws clenched tight. "Surrender," I whisper, a short but firm breath. In his eyes I see the struggle, the battle between pride and agony. He must choose, and quickly, before the decision is made for him by the relentless force of my hold. He grunts, a mix of pain and defeat, and finally, after an agonizing wait, he taps out. Across the ring, Jack watches, a small smile of approval on his lips. It's a subtle expression, but to me it feels like a victory in itself. I step back, breathing hard. My ribs are burning, and my lips stinging like crazy. But that adrenaline rush is something incredible. Am I now the fighter he hoped I would become? I should feel proud, but I don't. This brute he expects me to be, this ruthless warrior, that's not me. I fight with strength, yes, but deep down, a part of me resists this transformation, this loss of humanity that combat seems to demand. I'm searching for a balance, a way to remain true to myself while meeting the harsh demands of this unforgiving world. After those last fights, I feel like a weight's lifted. It's like a breath of fresh air. On the third day, it was Doran, a giant whose size was inversely proportional to his speed, and on the fourth, a waif-like girl who succumbed to my headlock with an ease that left me almost apologetic. As I leave the arena, my whole body screaming with pain, yet there's a burgeoning pride that swells within me, unbidden but undeniable. My gaze catches Jack's, and in his eyes I find a flicker of something like approval. He nods at me, like, "Good job," without saying a word. It says it all. But the story of the day hasn't reached its conclusion yet. The mood in the practice hall changes when Terran steps up to fight. His method is a departure from anything we've seen before. It's less a fight, more a display of primal power. Clara and me were right there next to Jack, watching in shock. Terran, in the ring, resembles a bull, his movements devoid of any semblance of finesse or moderation. The fight is one-sided, his opponent clearly outclassed, flailing to protect himself from Terran's relentless violence. The crescendo of brutality is reached as Terran continues to rain down blows on his already incapacitated opponent, who lies motionless on the ground. Corporal Miles leaps into the arena, an intruder in the midst of the chaos, and pulls Terran back from his victim. The room falls silent, each of us wrestling with the seriousness of what just happened. But then there's Drake, cheering like crazy. It's weird, totally out of place. Terran's unchecked ferocity, coupled with Drake's cheering like it's a party. It's freaking me out. It's a raw glimpse of the hidden brutality lurking under our training's surface. Clara and I exchange a look full of silent worry, a shiver of dread creeping up my spine. In the silence of Terran's violent spectacle, a sobering realization dawns on me. The day's events have painted a stark, unadorned tableau of the reality we face in our odyssey to become police assistants. It's a realization that sends a chill, sharp and unyielding, to the marrow of my bones. Standing in the silent aftermath, I understand that there are those among us who are willing to go to frightening lengths, to cross moral boundaries in order to secure their place as a police aide. Terran's actions were more than a fight. They were a demonstration of a willingness to inflict pain, perhaps even kill, for the sake of ambition. As I glance around at my fellow trainees, their faces are a mix of shock, disgust, and in some cases, an unsettling hint of admiration for Terran's ferocity. I feel a deep unease settle in my stomach. The training we undergo is meant to prepare us for the rigors of the police force, but today has shown that it's also a test of our character. How far are we willing to go? What lines are we prepared to cross? These are questions that now echo loudly in my mind. The day's intensity gradually fades as Clara and I find a quiet corner to unwind and reflect. We start talking, and she's all happy about winning her fight. She describes her moves with an animated excitement, and for a moment the earlier tension seems miles away. Yet the ephemeral lightness of our conversation soon gives way to a more somber topic: Terran's savage performance in the ring. Clara's expression clouds over, her unease palpable as she articulates her thoughts. It's as if some of us are being sculpted into instruments of aggression, like swords, and this academy acts as the relentless whetstone, sharpening us ceaselessly, she remarks, her voice laced with worry. Knox's techniques, they seem to be driving some to the brink. I nod, feeling a knot of worry in my own stomach. Yeah, it's disturbing, I reply, my thoughts drifting to my own combat challenges. I mean, I won against Nathaniel, but only because of a tip from Jack about his injury. An injury Jack caused during training. It's unsettling. The realization that Jack, who has been my pillar of strength in training, might harbor the same kind of aggression as Terran unsettles me. Do you think, could Jack get as aggressive as Terran? Clara's expression turns grave. I've seen how Jack fights, she begins, her voice low. He can be brutal, especially against strong opponents, but he always seems to be in control. I just hope he never loses it. I can't even imagine what would happen if he did. The thought sends a shiver down my spine. The idea of Jack, my mentor and training partner, losing control like Terran is a frightening prospect. Despite the strength and guidance he's offered me, this new idea casts a shadow of fear and doubt.
Did this story captivate you? Help this book find its place in the vast world of literature. Share your thoughts. Leave a review on Goodreads. Your support means everything. Link in the description. For just the price of a coffee, you can dive into the full audiobook and support my journey as an author. Every contribution truly means the world to me, and keeps this adventure alive. The link to the audiobook on Kobo is in the description of this video. Thank you so much for your support.